This October, Blue Apron is celebrating its 5th anniversary by bringing back its top 20 recipes from throughout the past 5 years, as picked by you, the Blue Apron community. Your favorite Blue Apron recipes are back on the menu for a limited time only. Blue Apron is all about giving people fresh recipes to explore as they learn to cook new dish after new dish, which is why they don't repeat recipes within one calendar year. This is what makes this limited time offer so exciting. Try out Blue Apron's all-time customer favorites by going to blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Blue Apron's freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. Check out this week's menu and get $30 off your first meal with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. You're going to love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so do not wait. That's blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. Blue Apron, it's a better way to cook.
Rolling strong into hour number 3 on this Thursday morning. Glad you're with us. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic, Mike and Mike, or soon to be.
Golic and Wingo.
There you go.
I feel I need to explain the one part of that open there when you heard my son say there's only one guy in the set that's not named Mike, which would be you, Trey.
Correct.
And when Mike was on the show, which he will be every day starting
6 to
November
10. 6 to 7, November 27th.
7-ish, however we're going to pull
There'll
that.
be a lot of ish.
Yeah,
in this
there certainly will.
There'll be a lot of ish.
I definitively, we were talking about Rick Pitino. It doesn't matter the subject matter.
Yeah.
I definitively turned to my son and I said, Mike, blah, 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 blah. What do you think of this? Ask a question. And you answered.
Yeah, I did.
I was like, what part of me turning to another human being,
I don't know,
saying their name, which isn't your name, asking a question would lead you to want to answer it?
I guess I'm just embracing my inner Mike. That's the way this show has gone for so long. With Mike Greenberg, Mike Golic, and it's going to be Mike Golic and Mike Golic Jr. I'm just preparing for the eventuality where management will come to me and say, hey, Trey, listen, the Golic and Wingo thing is going great.
Yeah.
We love it. We'd like to make a change. Just see if you're open to the idea. Because it's so comfortable for everybody. How about you change your name to Mike?
Yeah.
And then we'll just go to Mike and Mike again. And then everything will be fine.
They don't even have to ask. We can just start calling you that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Totally. By the way, they tried to change my name once before. Not here, but somewhere else. They wanted.
Really?
Yeah, I was in St. Louis. And we had my name is Trey Wingo, and we had a guy on the we had someone named Matushka Lindo, Lowell Deo, and a Victoria Babo.
Matushka
Lindo was her name. Yes, Lowell Deo and Victoria Babu.
And Trey Wingo.
And they were like, that's too many names that end in a vowel.
Yeah.
You want to change it? I'm like, no.
Did they give you any examples of what they want to change it to?
They want to change it to Trey Winger.
I was just going to say.
Really?
Winger. Say is Winger.
Winger.
Hey, I'm Trey Winger.
Coming up live from the arena, it's Trey Winger.
Trey. And then it would have been, how would you say it? Not Trey Winger. Trey
Winger. Yeah, so what we did, we ran on the air and did a stand-up first, so I couldn't change my name. We were supposed to go on the air a day later. We just went on to do a story early, so can't change it now.
Played. Well, November 27th, though, when you do his Golic and Wingo, I'm going to turn to you and say, so, Mike, what did you...
Or Winger. I'll be Mike Winger.
Mike Winger.
Mike Winger.
There
We're
you go.
The whole thing. It'll be Mike Winger.
There you go.
Get ready. We're rebranding. You know what that is?
What?
That's Straight Talk.
There you go.
Straight Talk Wireless. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So there's a lot to get into today. Again, we got Stugotz coming up in just a little bit. Damian Woody will join us. Adam Schefter will join us. But I don't know if you saw this article that Jarrett Bell wrote in the USA Today. It was very interesting. Jacksonville Jags owner Shad Khan thinks he knows the real reason why President Trump is so obsessed with the NFL and how he does its business.
And we know the president's tweets a while ago, yesterday.
Did it again yesterday.
I was going to say yesterday he had another one once after the Roger Goodell and some of the owners met with some of the players and the union, that there was no hard, fast rule about the anthem coming out. And the president tweeted that nothing came out of that, and the league is still disrespecting, the national anthem and the flag. Exactly.
And Shad Khan says about President Trump, this is a very personal issue with him, telling the USA Today. Remember, I'd forgotten about this. It shows you how quickly things move on.
True, because it's not too long ago, because the association with Donald Trump and football was USFL.
Correct.
Which,
he went up against the NFL and lost there.
Exactly. So you thought there was maybe some bad blood from there, but that was obviously decades ago.
Right.
But this is way more current.
Exactly. In 2014, he was one of the people that tried to buy the Buffalo Bills.
Right.
And it was a failed attempt. The NFL moved on, and they went with the Pagula family, who, of course, owns the Buffalo Sabres up there. So Shad is sort of putting that together that maybe it's a little personal for him. And that makes sense, doesn't it, on some level?
Listen, I don't know if we'll ever know, obviously, the truth of that, but to dismiss that out of hand would be somewhat crazy. I think. Donald Trump, he loves Twitter.
Yep.
We've seen the time he's not the only one in the world, but he'll hold a grudge on somebody. Yeah. He'll let you know if he doesn't like something or someone. I'd forgotten about this. So
I had totally too.
Maybe there is something too where he has something against the NFL. If you want to go back and include the USFL, his couple of dealings with the NFL hadn't been great. And I mean literal dealings of one in court and the other trying to buy a team and a failed attempt to buy a team. Maybe there is something to that. I don't know, and I don't think we'll ever know, and I don't think Donald Trump would admit that.
Right.
I don't think the president's going to be tweeting anything out that, Mr.
that was it.
Right,
yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But I had forgotten about that. It's certainly a little bit of food for thought if there's anything that it has to do with it as well.
Yeah, again, just going back to the USFL thing, technically the USFL won their suit against the NFL.
There's winning and then there's winning.
Exactly, and in these kind of suits, the damages are trebled.
Right, tripled, so they end up being tripled.
Yeah, so
why don't they just say tripled? Why
because it's legalese. Right. It sounds more important when you say trebled.
So which is great. So, oh my God, I got this winnings and they're tripled.
Yeah, it was $1.
They won $1.
They won $1, so they got $3.
What if they paid them right there?
Yeah, here you go, $3 straight cash.
Change for a $5?
Straight cash, homies. Change for a $5. Listen, we want to just get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Here's your $3. I'll give you a $5. You give me $2 back.
Yeah, I only have $2 in cash. And we got any change?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That was in '83, and again, it was at that time businessman Trump whose idea was to go up against the NFL in the fall, and that didn't work out, and then he didn't get the team. So Shad Khan believes, the owner of the Jags, believe that's a big part of it. Okay, so that was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE network.
So let's give a quote to that. It said, Shad Khan said, he's been elected president where maybe a great goal he had in life to own an NFL team is not very likely. So to make it even tougher or to hurt the league, he said this is very calculated. So he is taking full ownership of saying this is the reason that Donald Trump, our president, is tweeting things against the NFL.
Yeah, and that's what Shad Khan of the Jacksonville Jaguars has to say. Okay, I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's bring him in. Stugotz is here, and I can't wait to hear what Stugotz has to say. Stu, would you... Listen, you're our resident lie detector expert, right? Mm-hmm. So, Rick,
yes, I am proud of that. Yep, very proud of that.
As you should be. So,
Thank you, Winger.
Rick Pitino. That's Mike Winger to you. That's Mike Winger.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry, Mike Winger. They changed my name, Trey. They changed my name to Stugotz. It was John Wiener. I would have preferred John Winger, but they changed it to Stugotz. So,
well, I thought you changed it. Did they change it for you?
No, I didn't change. Well, ESPN didn't change it. Hank Goldberg changed it. My first big break in this business was the executive producer of the Hank Goldberg show back in like '99. And at the time, Hank was one of the biggest talk show hosts.
The Hammer, yeah.
The Hammer. And so he gave me the name Stugotz based off of Tony Soprano's
boat.
Yeah, there you go. Very good. Well done.
All right. So I thought that was you. I didn't know it was that's cool. Okay, now Rick Pitino is doing the lie detector thing. Would you like to, and he said, he passed the lie detector test. Would you like to give him any advice or do you have thoughts along the idea? Because this is your area of, one of your many areas of expertise.
Well, listen, clearly he doesn't need my advice because I don't believe a word that he said, and he passed the lie detector test according to Rick Pitino. So I don't think he needs my advice. I have taken not one but 2 lie detector tests, and I'm certain a 3rd and 4th and a 5th is scheduled on our show at some point. This is all I can say. I lied. Now, we had this guy, Joe Harper, who's been doing this forever, and he administered the lie detector test on me. And I can tell you, I lied during the lie detector test, and many of them got past the lie detector, got past Joe Harper. So it is possible, and all I'll say is this. You can go on to Google, you can YouTube how to beat a lie detector test, and there are several different ways to do it. I'm not saying I did it before mine. All right, that's exactly what I'm saying. I did it before mine. Yes, but there are several ways that Rick Pitino could have or someone could have done it for him and said, Rick, these are ways that you could pass the lie detector test, and I'm certain Rick had someone look into that for him. So.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my son brought up the tack in the shoe. I don't forget, was that Ocean's 11 or 12 that technique was used to be in pain when you answer the question and all that deal.
Well, that means so the establishing of the baseline is the hardest part of the lie detector test, right? So were you lying on the baseline test to thus make it even as when the other lies came out?
Yes, I was lying. So, yeah, we did the baseline test. We did that like an hour before we actually did the actual test. I was lying on the baseline test, and then I carried those lies over to the actual test. And some of them got through. Not all of them, but some of them got through. That's all. Like, Dan thinks I still like him. Let's just put it that way. He thinks I still like him.
So you did that. That was fun. We laughed. We had a good time. It's a great segment, a great bit. But this is kind of real here with Rick Pitino doing that, the FBI investigation. So we finally hear him talk. He sits down with Jay Billis, and outside of saying he only has to answer to one person, and that's God, and answering some of the questions of Jay, but also saying that he takes responsibility for one thing, basically, 2 bad hires. You know, one having to do with the escorts in the dorm, and the other with the assistant coach in the Vegas hotel with Adidas. So. You heard his answers. You heard the interview. Did it change your mind at all of what you thought of Rick Pitino? And I know you don't believe him. And more importantly, do you think it changed other people's minds about him?
I don't think so, guys. I really don't. Like, one of the interesting things that he said in that interview with Jay, and I thought Jay did a tremendous job, not just getting the interview, but the questions that he asked during that interview, was that the reason he's suing Adidas is because they took his passion away from him. What passion? The passion of money? No, he sued Adidas because they're taking his money away from him. And you guys alluded to this before. We all know what a control freak Rick Pitino is. And he's such a control freak that he entrusted his passion, the passion of coaching, with so many different people who made so many bad mistakes along the way. At some point, it's got to be Rick Pitino's fault. I don't believe these are 2 bad hires. I just believe this is what goes on in college basketball, in college athletics, in college sports. And it's not just specific to Rick Pitino and the University of Louisville. I think this goes on all over college sports. And the real problem for me, guys, with all of this is the coaches are making so much money, and they want to latch on to that money and those contracts for as long as they can. And if they're not going to pay the players, and if they're not going to use the sneaker companies to get the players they want, and if they're not going to do certain things, then someone else will. It's just kind of like keeping up with the Joneses. If Rick Pitino doesn't do it, then someone else is going to do it. And so you're almost forced to do it if you're a college coach. And so, yeah, you know, I listened to the entire interview, and I don't believe any of what Rick Pitino had to say. It can't be everyone else's fault. Okay, the escorts in the dorm, that was someone else's fault. This, someone else's fault. He made 2 bad hires. I don't buy it. He's a control freak. He knows everything that's going on. He knows before it's happening. He knows while it's happening. He knows certainly after the fact. And so I just don't trust Rick Pitino. I really don't trust coaches at the college level in general. It's not just Pitino. I shouldn't just make it specific to him. It's just coaches in general, because there is so much money attached to this, and they're going to do whatever they can to keep their contracts and keep their jobs.
Well, that's the bigger issue here going forward, and we'll see how this plays out, because this is not just a Louisville problem. Let's be clear.
Exactly right.
Correct.
Every coach, or not every, but a lot of them have to be very nervous about where the tentacles of this investigation with the government are going. Meanwhile, let's go back to baseball, Stugotz. The Yankees' tentacles have reached back and claimed 3 straight wins over the Astros, including finally getting to Dallas Keuchel. Now, they've been a completely different team on the road as opposed to at home. Do you think the Yankees can still swing the bats the way they did in those 3 games at Yankee Stadium when they have to go back to Houston, when they were essentially neutered for those first 2 games in Houston?
It's going to be interesting. I have to see them win a road game. They haven't done that yet here in the postseason. So that's going to be.
Well, they did it Game 5. They did it Game 5 of the ALDS.
Game 5. I was trying not to bring that up, Trey, because I was trying to be nice to Golic.
Appreciate that very much, sir, Stugotz.
Yeah. You got it. So I don't know. You know, it's kind of like a hit or miss team, right? Now,
literally,
Judge has been great lately. And it hasn't just been home runs. So it's going to be interesting. I think the Yankees eventually, yes, I think they will win. I think they'll get to the World Series. Personally, I'd like to see that, because I'd like to, see a Dodger-Yankee World Series, which is where I think we're headed, and that kind of brings me back to my childhood and growing up, where it seemed to be the Yankees and Dodgers just about every year. I do find it interesting, Golic and Trey, because Trey, you're a big Yankee fan, right?
Yes.
Do you guys have I asked Tim Kirchin this last week. Do you guys have an issue with baseball in the fact that 162 games is certainly a big enough sample size to determine who the best team in Major League Baseball is. And I think we would all agree after the regular season, we all thought it was the Indians. But baseball rarely gives you the best team as its champion. And Ray, I just called you Ray.
I'll answer to anything.
Ray Winger, I'll go back to 2003. When the Marlins beat the Yankees were a heavy favorite. Clearly the Yankees were a better team, but the Marlins won. Does it bother you guys, Golic, as an Indians fan, Trey, as a Yankee fan who lost to a Marlins team that at one point during that regular season was 10 games below 500 and made a manager change from Jeff Torborg to Jack McKeon? Does it bother you that the best team doesn't get rewarded with a championship in baseball seemingly every single year?
Well, as a Yankee fan, I'd have to be really spoiled to say, yeah, that really irked me when they won in 96, 98, 99, and 2000, and then again in 2009. Right. So, I mean, I get it, but it's weird. Like the two Twins World Series in 87 and 91 were the same way. They were never the best team that year. They just caught fire in each one of those postseasons with pitching. And that's what makes baseball so completely different. Yeah, it's the pitching.
And it also makes it completely different. You look at the other majors going into the postseason, baseball is more different than the other games. Yeah. You rely on different things. All of a sudden, you got starters coming out of the bullpen. It changes more than the other sports change. So, Stu, no, it doesn't bug me. Listen, in hockey, we get more 8 seeds that beat 1 seeds. I don't mind that. As long as I see good play, good hockey, good baseball, good football, I'm happy with it. I know you get a 5-game and now 7-game series, so the better team is supposed to win. But baseball definitely changes in the postseason, so I'm good with it. My son brought up a question. My son Michael, again, you do weekend observations with Sundays 7 to 9.
Seamless plug.
I thought so. He said, and I wonder if you agree, that this is one of the more likable Yankee teams. I mean, you're conditioned to kind of hate some teams that because they're really good or they have a great history or something, or you don't like the people on that team. He said this is a more likable Yankee team. You agree with that?
I absolutely do, yeah, because it feels, you got a bunch of guys that came up through the Yankees organization. You got guys like Sanchez and Aaron Judge and guys like that. It's a bit of a younger team, and no one really expected this. It's not like they went out and spent, $250 million to piece this team together. Plus, A-Rod's not there. I heard Mike talking about this on my way in this morning. And, yes, so I absolutely agree. This is a more likable Yankee team. Listen, as a Met fan, I'm conditioned not to root for the Yankees, and I find myself rooting for this Yankee team. I like Joe Girardi. I like the young kids. I like the energy that they play with. I like Todd Frazier, the addition they made there at the deadline, who's made big contributions on and off the field for this team. So, yeah, I would say certainly this is a very likable Yankee team, unlike all the other teams that Trey had in the late 90s winning World Series where they were just spending more money than everyone else.
Well, that's the thing. If they go up against the Dodgers, it's so likely they'll have the lower payroll. The Yankees will have a lower payroll.
It will be
congratulations on that, Trey. You finally have the lower payroll than a team you're playing. Way to go.
Stu, how about this? If it is the Dodgers and the Yankees, it will be the first time since 1976 that the Yankees will be in a World Series with a lower payroll than the team they're playing. It's amazing.
It really is. It's amazing. And for that reason, I think that's why this team is likable, because you don't have that big payroll. The Dodgers are the team spending all the money. That's amazing. What year was that, Mike? That is incredible.
76. Yeah.
Wow.
And Steinbrenner bought the team in 73. And they'll be likable until they spend $400 million on Bryce Harper.
Yeah, then it won't be likable anymore.
That's the second they become unlikable again, is the second they spend that money on Bryce Harper. Yes, that is correct.
Let's move on to beef stew, shall we? Because this is really, this is why he's here. This is what he loves. All right, Stu, what do you got? More beef with the hit on Aaron Rodgers, or people saying quarterbacks need more protection?
Wow. I see Greeny's side of this. Golic, I know you get mad at him every time he brings it up. I mean, we do tune in every single week to see the quarterbacks play, but and Aaron Rodgers, certainly, the one thing you can rely on every single week. 2 things you can rely on. Aaron Rodgers being great and Tom Brady being great every single week in the NFL. And you guys said earlier, we have no idea what we're talking about when it comes to the NFL. Mike said we just say it with conviction, so it sounds like we know, which made
It's not a lie if you believe it, Stu.
Well, and Trey, by the way, that's the key to the lie detector, man. Just say it with conviction and confidence, and occasionally you'll just squeeze one right through there, and they won't even notice that you're lying. So, listen, I'd like to see Aaron Rodgers play 16 games every year, but the reality is this is a very physical sport, and things are going to happen. So, no, I don't want to see more rules in place to keep the quarterbacks up, to keep them healthy. You can put all the rules in place that you want to. Occasionally, a guy's going to tackle Aaron Rodgers out of the pocket. He's going to land on his shoulder, and Aaron Rodgers is going to break his collarbone. That's the nature of the sport. It's unfortunate They've done enough to protect the quarterbacks. I don't think they need to do any more. If they want to put more rules in for, somehow for teams to hurt Tom Brady, I'm okay with that. But other than that, no. The sport is fine just the way it is.
Look, I get it, and I hear what you're saying, but remember, after Brady went down in 2008 is when they made the Brady rule. You can't hit the quarterback low. I don't know if they're going to do it.
What else can they do? What else can they do?
They can't do anything.
Here's the way they can justify it. I'm not saying they will, but they'll have this discussion in the offseason, I guarantee it, looking at driving quarterbacks into the ground. They'll I don't know if it'll pass, but they will look into it. They will look into it, absolutely.
Actually, it's already illegal. That's what most people are saying about that play. You're not allowed to land your body weight on quarterback anymore. So that's what people are saying was the issue with that one.
But, Mike, how does that work, Trey? How does that work? How are you going to regulate that? Like, what are you going to do? And these guys are moving. There's such big guys moving at such a high rate of speed. Like, how is he supposed to pull up and not drive Aaron Rodgers into the ground? How is that even possible?
That's the issue. Because, look, Aaron Rodgers, how many times have you seen him pump fake or escape and move around? And if Barr had let up on that hit and Rodgers had done that, Barr would look absolutely foolish.
The tweets I got on it that I had to stop tweeting because I wanted to slam my head into a wall. It was just ridiculous.
But, Mike, you understand the overall point. You understand the point that Greeny's trying to make and that others are trying to make. It's that we love Aaron Rodgers. It's the Michael Jordan of this sport. We want to see him play 16 weeks every year.
I completely agree, but my God, I think we've run out of rules to protect the quarterback anymore. All right, one more. More beef with managers constantly changing pitchers in the playoffs or people always second-guessing those moves.
I'm tired of how the managers are doing this. Like, let's get back to some old-school baseball once in a while. I mean, last night, Yankees, you had Tanaka. God forbid. Wow, a pitcher went 7 innings. Congratulations. A starting pitcher went 7 innings, and then they went to the bullpen. I was blasting the Astros the other day because Lance McCullers, who's an up-and-down pitcher, and when he's on, he is on. He was on the other night. He gave up a home run to Aaron Judge. They pulled him right after that, and then the Astros ended up losing the game. We have pitchers for every single situation. If there's a guy on first, we put a lefty in. If there's a guy on first and second, we have a specialist for that. We have a specialist for every single situation from basically the 4th inning on. I heard someone say, one of our baseball guys say, that if both these pitchers, it was right before, I think, Game 3 of the Yankees-Astros series, if they make it to the 4th inning, that will be viewed as good starts for both pitchers. Are you kidding me? How about if you make it to the 7th, 8th, 9th inning? God forbid a complete game is thrown here. I just think it's ridiculous. All these managers trying to outmanage each other with all the bullpen arms that they're using these days. It's ridiculous. If your starter's going well, just let your starter stay in there and throw the ball like we did back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. It's just gotten too much. I understand it. I get it in certain instances, but it's become too much for me where you have a pitcher for every single situation from basically the 4th inning on. How about let your starter go 7, 8, 9 innings?
Stu, you're exactly right, and nothing is a better example of that than Game 7, 91 World Series. Jack Morris, 1-0 goes, was it 10 innings in that game? Through 10 innings in that game before the Twins finally went ahead to win that game and won the World Series. Stu, we'll catch you on Levitard coming up after we're done here on ESPN Radio. Thanks, Stu.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
That's Mike Winger signing off. It almost happened.
The only problem is, what do we sound like? 1981, and I mean, we sound
hey,
like
you kids, get off my lawn.
Like the old guys on the step.
But it would be nice. Look, again.
Well, Verlander, we get him again. He threw 9.
He'll roll. And CeCe did get pulled in that ALDS after 77 pitches in the 5th inning, or 6th inning, rather. It just seemed like not the right time to pull him.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All right, we roll on. Golic and Winger coming to your way November 27th. Mike and Mike technically for now. It is time for the Straight Talk, and for that we bring in ESPN insider Adam Schefter joining us, giving the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Shefty, lots to get into here, including the start of Week 7 tonight with a very interesting matchup in the AFC West. Raiders hosting the Chiefs. But we were talking about it earlier this hour. Jarrett Bell of USA Today had an article in the paper where Shad Khan, the owner of the Jags, said he believes one of the reasons that why President Trump has gone after the NFL so hard about the anthem issue is that it's personal with Donald Trump, because remember, in 2014, he put together a bid to buy the Bills. The NFL did not go with that bid. They went with the Pagula family, who owns the Sabres, and they now own the Bills as well. And it also goes back to maybe, perhaps, the USFL in the early 80s, when it was then businessman Donald Trump's idea to go up against the NFL in the fall. And technically, while they won their suit, the league basically disbanded when they were awarded $1, which was trebled to $3. What's your take on what you hear from Shad Khan there?
Shad Khan is not the only owner who feels that way.
Really?
I have had other owners say the exact same thing to me. So much so that I actually made calls to people in Washington to see, do you think that that's true? They did not believe it to be true, but I can tell you that there are other owners who believe that part of the reason that Trump has gone after the NFL as aggressively as he has is because of the very reason that you laid out there, Trey, is that he believes that Roger Goodell had a hand in preventing him from buying the Buffalo Bills back when they were for sale.
Right.
And because he has not been included in that ownership fraternity, he is now waging his own little vendetta against the NFL. Now, again, there are people in Washington who have denied that to me. I don't know what is real and what is not, but the important thing to note there is that there are owners
more than
who
one
do believe that. More than one.
Yeah.
More than one, for sure.
Shad Khan, the quote from him, he said he's been elected president, or maybe a great goal he had in life to own an NFL team is not very likely. So to make it tougher or to hurt the league, this is all very calculated.
And he has hurt the league.
Yeah.
He has hurt the league. I mean, merchandise sales are down. TV ratings are down. Letters are pouring
the last
in.
couple of weeks, the ratings have ticked back up again. But you're right. Overall, they're
down over the last year or two. Where do you see that? You know, we keep hearing about the meetings that went on, what went on, and then there were different reports on what was accomplished, what was that had some concrete meaning to it. When there's going to be another one, what do you think will eventually come of those?
I think really the next thing is that there's going to be more discussions. I don't think they ever were going to pass a proposal during this meeting that said, in the football operations manual, the word should and should stand for the anthem is going to be changed now to must stand. That was never going to happen. This was really about...
Although that is the rule in the NBA. I mean, they
did make a rule.
That is
the
a hard
players have all
rule in the
followed
NBA.
it, yes.
This was about, I think, as much as anything else, continued enlightenment for the NFL owners for seeing a world that they're not used to seeing. This was about Roger Goodell and Doug Baldwin, the Seahawks wide receiver, penning a letter to the Senate Judiciary Committee. This was about the New York City Police Commissioner, Commissioner Kelly, coming in to address the owners yesterday for 30 minutes, and the owners thinking that those were incredibly interesting and insightful comments that he made. He talked to them about how they have changed their police practices in recent times, the way they should be thinking, and speaking to some people who were in that room, they said it was easily the most powerful moment of these 2 days of meetings and something that will stay with them. And I just think it was just educating the owners and continuing the dialogue, which will continue next on October 31st for the next series of meetings.
Well, and that was the whole point with the protest, right? The whole point was
raise awareness.
To raise awareness. And now that awareness has been raised, as you said, with what Doug Baldwin and Commissioner Goodell were able to do to pen that letter, what Malcolm Jenkins has done to take the next step forward.
Hey, and by the way, when's the last time that we had a police commissioner coming to address the owners about societal issues? That in and of itself is a step in the right direction. And Herm Edwards was on NFL Live yesterday, and he talked about when he was a player, that players had to fight to wear beards.
Right.
I mean, think about where we are today compared to where Herm was as a player, and that is a sign of how far we've come and how far there still is to go.
Well, it's facial hair. I mean, the Yankees still have
that issue.
Their facial hair rule. But, I get it. And when we had Adam Silver on, the commissioner of the NBA, they talked about between they and the union, how they've worked together in all 30 cities to have, the community awareness and the activism going on. So if that's a goal for the NFL, I mean, take care of your yard first. If you can get something between the league and the union and the players in each of the cities where the teams are, I think it would be a good positive step. We'll see. Them talking, believe me, is a good positive step. Let's go on the field. Let's start with Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck comes back,
Who
starts
won't be starting, it doesn't look like.
All of a sudden is getting cortisone shots and gets shut down again. Where are we?
Well, listen, we are going into week 7, and he's going to have to be shut down for a couple of weeks here at a minimum. At what point do you just say, it's not worth bringing him back this year? I know that he wants to play and is determined to play, and I know they want him to play and are determined to have him play. But at some point, common sense and logic steps in, and you just say that he's so important that we're going to give him the entire year to get ready for 2018 and that season. The fact that there was a setback here has got to be discouraging to him and the Colts. It's a continuation of this ongoing process. And frankly, right now, they'll reassess this. But, I mean, the signs continue to just keep piling up on this guy to where you have to wonder if we're going to see him this year.
Well, you mentioned Herm, who is the greatest and a living legend. Herm has said this from day one. He had the exact same injury when he was the head coach of the Jets with his quarterback, Chad Pennington. Mm-hmm. And he said, guys, you can say whatever you want. It's a year. It's going to be a year before he's back to where he was. And this surgery happened in January.
Well, what's the rush now?
Yeah.
What is the rush?
There is no rush.
No, there's no rush.
There is no Dana, only Zool.
Oh,
Ghostbusters, sorry.
There you go.
But you're right. Look, and by the way, obviously Jacoby Brissett is not as good as Andrew Luck. We all get that.
He's played well.
But he's played very well, I think, for this.
Great audition.
Yeah.
Great audition.
And he's going to have a longer audition. Yep. By the way, your audition's going to stay a little longer.
Yeah,
I'm always good for
You're going to stay with us for a little longer?
Yeah, we got more questions out there.
We got more for you.
Before we come back, I'm going to take a little nap in this chair.
Right?
It's comfy, isn't it?
It's sucking the life out of me.
This is the life, man.
We're here. For those of you that are watching on
hours?
ESPN2, we're here in the comfy chairs because there's some technological things going on over there.
Technological, yeah. There you go.
This is the good life, man.
All right, we roll on. Adam Schefter is with us. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic, and DJ Shefty Chef, as he's more commonly known. Adam,
I want to, before we get to those, what's your best sports month?
Yeah.
This is easy, and I said it to you before we heard the answers.
Yeah.
In April, catchers and pitchers have reported.
Kickers and punters.
And they've gone through their calisthenics. And
they've run to first a bunch.
And they're ready for opening day. So you have opening day.
Although sometimes that is in March, but mostly it's in April. Yes.
The final 4 weekend at the beginning of the month, usually.
Yes.
Usually. We've got the NFL draft, the preparation
baby.
coming up. I love
Get ready,
that.
Dallas.
I love that.
We're coming.
And then NBA and NHL playoffs.
NBA and NHL seasons coming to a finish, getting ready for the playoffs, and best of all, you have the weather to accompany it all and the hopes of all the warm days ahead. So to me, I'll go with April, although I love this week right now, sports-wise.
It is nice.
And Keith, again, the Masters is in April.
Yeah, Keith, we got a tweet from Keith who mentioned a lot of things in March that he
which
liked,
are good.
He also mentioned the Masters. And the Masters are in April.
Is in April.
All right, let's go back onto the field. Teddy Bridgewater. This is like for things that rarely, you guys have the skin on everything. What's up with Teddy Bridgewater?
Listen, he's making his way back, and
remarkable. Really.
It really is when you think about it. Because I can tell you this: there are people who thought he would never play in the NFL again. There are people, and I think my numbers may be up, but I remember a trainer telling me last year that there have been 18 of these knee injuries, and only like 3 players have come back.
Really?
Wow.
So whatever the actual numbers are, it gives you an idea that the odds were stacked against him, and yet here he is at practice. He's wearing a sleeve on his knee, going through practice. He's done some individual drills in the past, but really this is his first practice since August of 2016. And look, there are questions about when Sam Bradford's going to play again. I don't think the Vikings are counting on him at all.
Right.
So Case Keenum steps in.
Played pretty well.
And is kind of keeping the boat afloat there in Minnesota.
Literally the boat they have outside the facility.
Okay. He's keeping the boat afloat. Aaron Rodgers is gone. Matthew Stafford's banged up. Mitchell Trubisky's learning. The Vikings have about as stable a quarterback situation right now as just about anybody in that division.
It really is. And for people that don't remember, again, this was a non-contact injury at practice. And I had people telling me, I knew it was bad, Adam, and you
it was one of those, where were you when you found out that Teddy Bridgewater went down injuries? It really was.
They called EMT services to the field. I had people telling me that if that truck hadn't gotten there, that ambulance, he might have lost the leg. That's how bad the injury was. You knew it was bad when because you have everything at the facility there that you need to treat an injury, except something so catastrophic, and nobody touched him. That was the weird thing.
In the 27 years that I've covered the NFL, I could only remember an ambulance showing up at training camp a couple of times.
Right.
When that happens, you know it's real, it's serious, and in this particular case, it was. And horrific injury for Teddy Bridgewater. And I'll tell you the other interesting thing about this is he's in the last year of his contract.
Yeah.
Didn't pick up the fifth-year option.
Which you understand why they would not do that.
Of course, I'm not faulting them. Yeah. All I'm saying to you is that it just creates another layer of intrigue because both Bridgewater and Bradford are in the last years of their contract. So a team that's taken every step that it could to shore up the quarterback position has a lot of questions going forward, short and long term.
And it's a guy that was playing well, had become the leader of this team, was so well liked.
They love him.
He's one of those guys that even if you're not a Viking fan, you're
pulling
kind of root
for him. Absolutely.
Because of where he was going.
He is incredibly well respected in that organization.
Absolutely is. How about a guy now from the legal side of it? This is crazy what's going on. Zeke Elliott. He'll be on the field this weekend. How long will he possibly be on the field? Will it now turn back into a Tom Brady thing? I think we all, unless you've changed, I still think he's going to be suspended and serve it. But we just don't know when.
Yep. I would say this to you. The one certainty right now is he's going to play the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He's going to play at San Francisco this Sunday. He's going to play at Washington next week. Then I think we move into a little bit of a murkier area. But I still think right now that the slides of legal justice have swung in his favor right now. And it won't surprise me if he's playing this year. Now, the other interesting part about this is the Cowboys are 2-3.
Yeah.
Are they better off at this point?
Well, he's admitted it's affected him a little bit.
Well, listen, it's going to be let's just say he gets through this year and he plays the full year, which I think is a distinct possibility at this point in time. And let's say he serves the next year. Really, the 6-game suspension will impact 2 years because it will hang over him and his team this entire year mentally, and then physically he'll be removed from the team for 6 games next year. So that's not an ideal scenario in the end, but that's what it is.
Well, I think it's like Brady. Eventually, you can fight it as long as you want, but eventually
you're serving the time.
It's a penalty delayed, not denied. I think that's what's going to happen. I think the fact
that's a very good way of saying it.
Well, thank you very much. I think that because of the way it played out with Brady, eventually goes against him too, because the precedent has been set in court. That look, I get all this, but unless there's some egregious flaw that you can say is so completely out of context, the CBA says you let him do this. So you gave him the power, and we're going to respect that.
But again, on that side, I still understand the union battling this.
Why wouldn't you? Absolutely.
Good job.
It's exactly right. So you keep doing it really quickly, and I want it to be really quickly because it's my hometown team.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Kevin Hogan gets a start over Kaiser, got benched. Hogan's now third string. Cody Kessler, second string. Kaiser back to starter again. What in the wide world of sports is going on?
20 quarterback changes in the past 43 games.
Is that good?
20 quarterback changes in the past 43 games for the Cleveland Browns. And we still don't even know who the quarterback of the future is. Cody Kessler's number 2 this week. They could say it's Kevin Hogan's ribs all they want. The fact of the matter is, if Kevin Hogan had played well last week, do you think his ribs would prevent him from playing this week?
That's what flak jackets are for.
I don't think it would. So, again, more uncertainty. I don't know why they benched Kaiser in the first place. I don't know why they didn't draft Wentz in the first place. I don't know why they didn't draft Watson. It's the Cleveland Browns.
Well, look, we could go back to 2004 with quarterbacks they passed on, but let's just go the last 4 or 5 years. 2017, they took Deshaun Kaiser. They passed on Deshaun Watson. 2016, Cody Kessler. They could have had Carson Wentz or Dak Prescott. 2014, they took Johnny Manziel. They could have had Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo. 2012, Brandon Whedon in the first round. They could have drafted Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins.
Passed on Dak Prescott 8 times last year.
Everybody did. My point is, this is what they do. Adam, thanks. Mike, you all right?
No.
Okay.